Welcome to my channel BBC Rare Coins. Small in size, but rich in history, the Lincoln penny is more than just spare change. From its debut in 1909 to the iconic profile of President Abraham Lincoln, this humble coin tells a powerful story of American heritage, design, and evolution. Top 1. What if I told you that a single 1-cent coin, a penny, could be worth as much as $67,000? Sounds impossible, right? But the truth is, the 1964 Lincoln penny isn't just another coin tossed in a jar or forgotten in your car's cup holder. For collectors and experts, it's one of the most mysterious and rarest coins in U.S. history, with a handful of examples reaching shocking prices that seem unbelievable for something that once cost only 1 cent. The Lincoln penny has been around since 1909, honoring the 16th President of the United States. It was the first U.S. coin to feature a real historical figure and quickly became one of the most iconic coins ever minted. But not every penny is created equal, especially the ones from the 1960s. The 1964 Lincoln penny sits at the center of one of the most fascinating chapters in American numismatics. In 1964, the U.S. Mint was under pressure. The demand for coins was rising, and silver prices were skyrocketing. While the penny wasn't made of silver, it was minted in bronze, a mix of 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc. There were still challenges in coin production that year. Millions were produced, but a few rare pieces slipped through the cracks, including error coins, transitional strikes, and exceptionally well-preserved examples. These are the coins that today's collectors are chasing. Among them, the Holy Grail is a 1964 Lincoln penny in pristine, uncirculated condition, graded MS 67 or higher. But even rarer are the error coins, pennies struck on the wrong planchet, double dies, or transitional metals. Some of these mistakes occurred during the chaos of the mid-1960s coin shortage, and because they were never meant to exist, they were never officially documented. That's what makes them so valuable. One of the most talked about Lincoln cents from 1964 is an ultra-rare version struck with an error or in near-perfect condition that fetched as much as $67,000 at auction. A single cent, $67,000. Just imagine checking an old jar, a roll of pennies, or a forgotten drawer and finding one of these rare coins. What makes it worth that much? First, rarity. These coins aren't just hard to find, they're nearly impossible. Whether due to a striking error, a leftover planchet from a previous year, or some other unknown mint anomaly, these coins exist in extremely limited numbers. Second, condition. The coin that brought in $67,000 was flawless. We're talking about microscopic detail, full original luster, and not a single scratch or blemish. It was professionally graded and authenticated, giving collectors confidence that it was the real deal. And finally, the hype. When word gets out that a 1964 penny has sold for tens of thousands of dollars, everyone suddenly wants to know if their pocket change holds hidden treasure. That demand drives up the market, pushes rare coins into the spotlight, and turns an ordinary-looking cent into a viral sensation. So what should you look for? If you have a 1964 Lincoln penny, check the mint mark. Was it struck in Philadelphia or Denver? Look at the condition. Is it shiny, uncirculated, or covered in scratches? Do you notice anything strange about the lettering, the date, or Lincoln's portrait? Any doubling, misalignments, or unusual metal coloring could be clues. If it looks unique, it might be something special. Most 1964 pennies are only worth a few cents. But every once in a while, one shows up that changes the game. That's why collectors never stop searching. Because the next $67,000 penny might be sitting in your house right now, hiding in plain sight. So before you toss that penny aside, take a closer look. Because it might just be the most valuable 1-cent coin in U.S. history. The 1964 Lincoln penny, small in size, massive in value. Top 2. What if I told you that a single 1-cent coin, a penny, could be worth $64,000? Not made of gold, not ancient, just one penny. One tiny copper-colored coin that most people wouldn't even bend down to pick up off the sidewalk. But the truth is, the 1974 Lincoln penny hides a secret, and for those lucky enough to find the right one, it's not just pocket change, it's life-changing money. The Lincoln cent has been a staple of American currency since 1909. It's seen wars, recessions, new presidents, and technological revolutions. But in 1974, something happened that turned the humble penny into one of the most talked about coins in U.S. mint history. The U.S. government was experimenting. Copper prices were rising fast, and minting billions of pennies each year was becoming too expensive. So in 1974, the U.S. Mint tried something bold. They began producing experimental pennies using aluminum instead of copper. Yes, aluminum. Lightweight, silver-colored, and cheaper to produce. Over 1.5 million aluminum pennies were reportedly struck as part of this test. But before they could be officially released into circulation, the plan was scrapped. The mint changed its mind. The aluminum pennies were recalled, and almost all of them were destroyed. Almost all. Only a few escaped destruction. A small handful of 1974 aluminum Lincoln pennies are known to still exist today. They weren't supposed to survive. They weren't supposed to be seen by the public. But they're out there, and one of them has become legendary, selling for as much as $64,000 at auction. Why is it worth that much? Because it's rare. Incredibly rare. These coins weren't authorized for release. They were experimental, and the government tried to eliminate every single one. The few that survived are essentially illegal coins, never meant to be in private hands. Some have been seized by the Secret Service. Others have been the subject of legal battles. But collectors are willing to pay staggering amounts for them because of how scarce, controversial, and historically significant they are. Let's talk about how you might recognize one. The aluminum 1974 penny looks like no other Lincoln cent you've ever seen. Instead of that familiar coppery red or brown, it's a light, silvery color, almost like a dime. It's incredibly light, weighing only around 0.93 grams, which is about a third of the weight of a normal penny. If you ever find a 1974 Lincoln cent that doesn't feel quite right, that looks off, that's way too light, stop and take a closer look. You could be holding a piece of U.S. mint history that collectors would fight over. But the aluminum penny isn't the only 1974 rarity. There are also error coins, such as double dies or off-center strikes, that can bring in serious cash. And if you find a 1974 Lincoln penny in near-perfect, mint state condition, graded MS 67 or higher, it can be worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars, not because it's aluminum, but because it's nearly flawless. And high-grade examples are incredibly rare. Still, it's the aluminum 1974 Lincoln penny that holds the crown. A coin so controversial that the government doesn't even want you to own it. A coin so rare that fewer than 20 are believed to exist. A coin so valuable that it's been auctioned for $64,000 and continues to make headlines decades after it was minted. So the next time you're going through a jar of old change, pay attention. Look closely at every penny. Check the date. Check the color. Check the weight. Because the most valuable penny in your life might already be in your hands. And what you thought was worth just 1 cent might actually be worth $64,000. The 1974 Lincoln penny, small, forgotten, and legendary. Top 3. What if you found a single penny in your pocket that was worth $58,000? A coin so rare, so mysterious, and so unexpected that it made headlines, caused bidding wars, and left collectors stunned. That coin is the 1975 Lincoln penny, one of the most shocking and valuable 1-cent coins ever discovered in the history of U.S. currency. To most people, a 1975 penny is just another coin. Toss it in a drawer, drop it in a vending machine, forget about it. But not all 1975 pennies are the same. A small, almost unknown number of these coins hold secrets that make them priceless to the right collector. Whether due to minting errors, rare metal compositions, or near-perfect condition, some 1975 Lincoln cents have sold for as much as $58,000, making them among the most expensive pennies ever recorded. The Lincoln penny, first introduced in 1909, has been in constant circulation for over a century. It's a symbol of American history, economy, and change. But by the 1970s, the U.S. Mint was once again under pressure. Rising metal prices, inflation, and high demand for coins forced them to experiment, make adjustments, and push minting facilities to their limits. That's when things got interesting. The 1975 penny was supposed to be just like its neighbors, a small, copper-based coin with Lincoln's bust on the front and the Lincoln Memorial on the back. But among the hundreds of millions struck that year, a few were different. Some coins were accidentally struck on foreign planchets, blanks meant for coins from other countries. Some were struck off-center. Some were double-struck, creating a ghost-like doubling of the design. And a tiny handful were struck in such pristine, untouched condition that they looked like they were made yesterday, full luster, no scratches, perfect detail. These are the coins collectors dream about. One of the most valuable known 1975 Lincoln pennies was discovered to be struck on a bronze-clad planchet intended for testing, something the public was never supposed to see. Because of its error and its flawless mint condition, it went on to sell for an incredible $58,000. 1 cent $58,000. A coin that could have easily gone unnoticed. So how can you tell if your 1975 penny is special? Start with the basics. Look at the color. Most 1975 pennies were struck in a bronze alloy, 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc. But if your penny has a strange silver shine, unusual thickness, or lighter weight, that's a red flag. Next, check for mint errors, double dates, off-center strikes, missing details, or coins struck on the wrong metal. These mint mistakes can instantly boost a penny's value into the thousands. Then there's the condition. A coin graded MS 67 or higher is almost unheard of for circulated pennies from the 1970s. If you have a 1975 Lincoln cent in untouched, uncirculated condition, no scratches, sharp rims, full details, you might be holding something incredibly rare. A professional coin grading service can confirm whether your coin is one of the few that could fetch tens of thousands of dollars. The magic of the 1975 Lincoln penny isn't just in its rarity. It's in the mystery. These coins were made in such massive numbers, yet it's the mistakes, the accidents, the unknown planchets, and the freak one-in-a-million strikes that create legends. That's why collectors across the world are still searching, still hunting, still hoping to find the next big discovery. You could have one right now, sitting in an old coffee can, resting in a dusty drawer, hidden in your change from a gas station. A 1975 Lincoln penny worth $58,000 could be right under your nose. So don't ignore the pennies. Check them. Study them. Pay attention to every detail. Because the next viral coin story, the next historic discovery, the next $58,000 cent might be waiting for you to pick it up. The 1975 Lincoln penny. Rare, mysterious, legendary, and maybe, just maybe, priceless. Top 4. Imagine finding a single penny, just 1 cent, that's worth a staggering $54,000. A coin so rare, so mysterious, and so unexpected that it turned the world of coin collecting upside down. That coin is the 1982 Lincoln penny, and it's not just another piece of spare change. It's one of the most valuable and expensive 1 cent coins in American history. And the story behind it is absolutely mind-blowing. The year was 1982. The U.S. Mint was facing a major challenge. Copper prices were soaring, and the cost of producing a penny was becoming more than the coin was actually worth. For decades, the Lincoln cent had been made of 95% copper. But that all changed in 1982. In the middle of the year, the Mint officially switched the composition to a cheaper metal, zinc, coated with a thin layer of copper. This created 2 different types of pennies made in the same year, copper pennies and zinc pennies, both stamped with the 1982 date. But it didn't stop there. Because the transition happened in the middle of the year, and because the U.S. Mint used multiple facilities, dies, and planchets, the 1982 penny ended up being one of the most complex, error-prone, and collectible coins of the modern era. There are not just 2 versions, copper and zinc, but 7 distinct varieties based on size of the date, mint mark, and composition. And in that chaos, a legend was born. One incredibly rare version of the 1982 Lincoln penny, struck from a copper planchet instead of the intended zinc, is one of the most valuable pennies ever found. Only a few are known to exist. One example, verified, certified, and preserved in high-grade condition, sold for an astonishing $54,000. Think about that. A penny that was supposed to cost a fraction of a cent to make, turning into a 5-figure treasure. Why is it so valuable? Because it wasn't supposed to exist. In 1982, the Denver Mint had already transitioned to zinc planchets. But somehow, a small number of copper planchets were left over and accidentally used. These mistakes were struck, released, and vanished into circulation, hiding among millions of other coins, looking almost identical to every other 1982 penny out there. But they're not the same. They're the rarest of the rare. To the naked eye, the difference is invisible. The key is in the weight. A zinc penny weighs 2.5 grams. A copper penny weighs 3.1 grams. That small difference can be the clue that unlocks a $54,000 payday. And if you find one in perfect, uncirculated condition, that's when the serious money starts showing up at auction. But there's more. Other error coins from 1982 are also valuable. There are large date and small date versions in both copper and zinc. Some have off-center strikes, double dies, or transitional features. One tiny detail can turn an ordinary coin into a once-in-a-lifetime discovery. And here's the best part. These coins are still out there. They're not ancient relics locked away in museums. They're sitting in old coffee cans, forgotten in dresser drawers, hiding in pocket change, or sitting at the bottom of a piggy bank. The 1982 penny is one of the most overlooked but legendary coins in modern U.S. history. And the rarest versions, like the 1982 D copper penny, are now among the most expensive ever sold. This is why collectors are obsessed. This is why coin dealers are still hunting. This is why everyday people are weighing their pennies, examining the dates, and dreaming of striking it rich. Because that one penny, that one piece of copper, with the wrong metal, the right mint mark, in the perfect condition, it's real. It's out there. And it's worth $54,000. So next time you see a penny lying on the ground, don't walk past it. Pick it up. Look at the date. Feel the weight. Because you might just be holding a piece of history. You might be holding a coin that collectors would fight over. You might be holding the next viral discovery. You might be holding the 1982 Lincoln penny that's worth more than some people's cars. .1 cent, $54,000. One unforgettable coin. Top 5. 1 penny. 1 cent. A tiny copper-colored coin that most people ignore every single day. But what if I told you that a 1985 Lincoln penny, a coin that looks just like millions of others, could be worth a jaw-dropping $50,000? This isn't a myth. It's not a fantasy. It's one of the most shocking stories in the history of American coin collecting, a story about a simple coin that became a treasure. The Lincoln penny has been in circulation since 1909, and over the decades, billions have been produced. Most are ordinary, worn from use, tossed into jars and forgotten. But every now and then, something unusual happens. Something rare. Something that turns an everyday coin into an ultra-valuable collector's dream. And in 1985, one of those moments happened. By that year, the U.S. Mint had fully transitioned from copper pennies to pennies made of zinc with a thin copper coating. These new coins were lighter, cheaper, and looked nearly identical to the older ones. But with high-speed production, hundreds of millions of coins being minted, and machines running nonstop, mistakes were bound to happen. And some of those mistakes? They made history. The most valuable 1985 Lincoln penny ever discovered didn't look special at first glance. But upon closer inspection, it turned out to be something incredible, a rare mint error, combined with unbelievable condition, and a set of freak circumstances that led to its value skyrocketing to $50,000 at auction. So what made this particular penny so valuable? First, it was struck off-center, meaning the coin was not aligned properly in the press, and part of the design was missing or shifted. That alone made it stand out. But this wasn't just any off-center strike, it was combined with another major error. The coin was double-struck, meaning it was hit twice by the minting dies, creating a ghost-like doubling of Lincoln's image and the inscriptions. These two errors happening on the same coin are incredibly rare, but the story doesn't stop there. The coin was also in near-perfect uncirculated condition. That means no scratches, no fingerprints, no circulation wear, nothing but original mint luster. It was professionally graded by one of the top services and given a grade of MS 67 red, which is practically flawless for a coin of its type. Out of the millions of pennies produced that year, this one stood out as a unique masterpiece, a complete accident, preserved by time, and discovered by someone with a good eye and a lot of luck. And that's when it went to auction. Collectors recognized it immediately. They knew what they were looking at. A once-in-a-generation find. Bids started pouring in. And by the time the hammer dropped, that one little penny had sold for an astonishing $50,000. But here's the wildest part. That coin was found in a pocketful of change. Not in a museum. Not in a vault. It was pulled from circulation by someone who just happened to notice something strange. That's why this story is so powerful. Because it proves that these coins are still out there. They haven't all been found. They're hiding in plain sight, in old change jars, in forgotten rolls, in the back of desk drawers. And the 1985 penny isn't the only one. There are other rare varieties from that year, including pennies with die breaks, misaligned dies, broad strikes, and even rare planchet errors where the coin was struck on the wrong metal blank entirely. These aren't common, but they're real. And they can be worth hundreds, thousands, even tens of thousands of dollars. So how can you tell if your 1985 penny is valuable? Start by looking for anything unusual. Is the design perfectly centered? Is there doubling in the letters or numbers? Does the coin seem too light or too heavy? Does it look different from other pennies you've seen? And most importantly, what condition is it in? If it looks brand new, it might be worth having it graded by a professional, because the next big coin discovery could be yours. You might be holding a coin worth more than your rent, your car, or even your college tuition, all for something that was meant to be worth just 1 cent. The 1985 Lincoln penny. A tiny piece of metal with a massive story. One of the most valuable and rarest coins in modern U.S. history. And a powerful reminder that hidden treasure might be sitting right in your own pocket.